Hello LayerOne and hello Internet. Welcome to the newest Hack42 compound, which we recently moved into. We now actually own this building, so it will be quite a while before we move out of it again. But we need still to do a bit of remodeling, and we're a bit behind schedule on that one. My name is Weyers, and today I'm going to talk about how to lose access to your door in a few simple steps. Hello, let's get started. Like I said, I'm a member of Hack42, which is a hackerspace, which is an awesome hackerspace in Arnhem, which is in the Netherlands, which is in Europe. That's relevant for a bit later in this talk. And I'm also the president of the Open Organization of Lockpickers. Open Organization of Lockpickers, what we do is we open locks for sports and as a hobby. And we do that normally without force and mostly also without keys. And opening locks without having keys, that might sound a bit shady, so that could get you in trouble. For that specific reason, we adhere to some very simple rules. And if you do that, that probably keeps you out of trouble. Rule number one, only pick locks that you own. Or locks that you have explicit permission from the actual owner that you're allowed to pick it, and try to refrain from picking locks that you or anyone else relies on, because at some point you will fail and that might render the lock to be useless, and that would lead to your front door being unable to being locked or open for that matter, or your car or server room door or whatever. So yeah, stay away from those locks and you're probably okay-ish. To start off, we'll start with a little video. I actually don't get this clip because well, where I live, it's quite easier to find a locksmith than a 3D printing facility, but that might change or be different in the rest of the world. What you saw was a setup where they put their key on a turning pedestal so they could scan their key from all different angles, and by that making a 3D render of that key or a 3D model of that key that they could feed into a 3D printer. Yeah, this movie was made by a Belgian insurance company, so at least if information leaks out, we know who's gonna pay for your looted house. That's useful. But it's Belgium, which is Europe, which is not America. Why is that relevant? Well, in Europe, you can have quite an abundant choice of keys and keyways. There's literally a gazillion of them. And in the Americanas, you basically have a Kwikset, a Schlage, a Yale, and very expensive. So your normal options in a normal household would be one of those three. That means you only have a couple of possible keyways. And so then you probably don't need to put your key on a turning pedestal to look at all the different sides of it. Once you know what key blank you use, so the swirly form of your key of your keyhole, then you only need the bidding, so the cuts that are made in your key. And Schlussel, that's the company who owns this website, also figured that out. So they started a business that they basically said, take a picture of your key, send it to us along with $5, and we'll ship you a duplicate to your home address. I personally wouldn't use my home address for this service, but the idea is quite cool. And they actually made some quite nifty software to do this. So this software analyzes the key, figures out which blank it is, so which brand to use, and also figures out what the possible key depths are of your key. So if you look at this cut, and this red line is what the software figured out what the depth should be. If you look at the key is actually lower, but the depth of that key is not a valid depth. It probably still works, but it feels a bit iffy. That's because there is wear and tear on that position. So that position should be a bit higher, as the software rightfully figured out. So once you use the service, you have a above average chance that the copy you get mailed to you works better than your original key, which is kind of cool. So you just send a picture of your key and they produce a working key. It's potentially interesting. So what if you take a big lens and a decent camera? And can we do the same? Because that means we can take pictures from a long way. And this is actually research done by the University of California. That was way, way long back ago in 2008. What they did there is, you see a terrace. On the terrace there's a table. On the table there's a book. Quite a good book actually. And on the book there are a bunch of keys. This is about 200 feet away. So yeah, you can't even see the book in this picture, so let alone the keys. Now we see a bunch of keys, and if we look at this one, that's kind of straight on picture, not completely straight on, but we'll see how far we get with this. If we load this photo into a different piece of software, we can see that this is the reference key. If you look at the head of this key, it has quite a peculiar shape. If you mirror that, you will see a K. And that's because this brand is called a Kwikset. And quick with a K. And if this head is the same for all the Kwiksets. So we know the size and the shape that this head should be. If we look at the picture that's taken off an angle, this head has a different dimension. So what we can now do is alter that picture until this head is the correct size and shape and form as we should have. And if we know this is the correct size, then we also know this is the correct size. And we can just visually decode that combination and then make a workable key from it. That's kind of cool. I didn't invent this. And this happens more often. So having a picture or side of a key will leak information. And that works for different types of keys as well. These are the hands of Ray, and Ray is a very competent locksmith, lock enthusiast, let's put it that way. From Germany, he's a member of SSDEF, and SSDEF is basically tool in German. And he's visiting HAR 2009, which is in 2009, in Vierhouten, and that's an open-air hacker camp. A couple of thousand nerds in fields doing cool stuff. And cool stuff also means playing with keys. And what he's holding here is a 3D printed version of the handcuff keys that are used by the German police. And he loves his handcuffs. He knows quite a lot of it. So when he was on the camping ground and he saw local police, so Dutch police, walking about, he saw them sporting handcuffs. And Ray being Ray, he instantly recognized the brand and model of this particular unit. It's a Lips something, I don't know. He knows. And he also quite immediately understood like that's the same brand and model as the Germans use. So might my key work in your handcuffs? So we went to this first police officer and asked you, dear police officer, can I use my key in your handcuffs? And the answer was sawed off, and he turned his back against him. Turned his back against him. Yeah, picture out in the open. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not a clear picture. It's clearly out of focus or zoomed in too much. Sure. So we probably can't make a key from the data from this picture alone. But if we compare it to the original key, yeah, that's low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. I'm not saying it's the correct key, but it's a close guesstimate that it probably is. So you're leaking information. And then Ray went to a different cop and asked the same question. And he said, sure, go ahead. And yes, indeed, and open. So this key is not just the keys to all the German police handcuffs. It also opens all the Dutch police handcuffs. And if you want to print your own, there's a URL here where you can download your STL and be done with it. So that's fun stuff. Information wants to be free and all. So yeah, having information leakage is just one picture away. That happens more often. If you look at this typical clean desk environment, we see all sorts of stuff that can be leaked. But I, as a log nerd, of course, I gravitate to that key over there. Next to the key is a coin, which makes it quite easy to snap pictures, because now we have a picture of a key and a coin. And we know the coin has to be round, and we know the exact dimension of that coin. So we can do the same as with the QuickSet picture key. If needed, we can alter that picture to make sure that that coin is the correct size. If we print that then out, then we have a picture of a coin in the correct size, which also means the key, because it's in the same plane, is also the correct size and the correct shape. If we know it's a shitty lock and tolerances are high, then we can go all kindergarten on it and put some metal sheeting on top of it or under it and start cutting that key and stay within the lines like we did in kindergarten. And with some luck, and if it's, like I said, a shitty lock, then you might get an open. And indeed, in this case, that lock opens. So this cabinet lock will open because someone left his key somewhere. And yeah, but it's just a cabinet lock. Yeah, indeed, it's a cabinet lock. But there's a very high chance that in this top drawer are the actual keys for the interesting bits inside this office. But mind you, this only works on rather shitty high tolerance locks. On that subject, this is a lock. It's not stupid shitty. Well, actually, yeah. This is not one lock. These are two locks. If you buy this, you get two locks. But not so much, because this lock is yours. This one isn't. And the actual owner of this lock is clearly stated in front of it. So what happens if you have luggage and you cross borders? Then there might be people in uniform who want to see in your luggage to figure out if you've been a bad person. For that, if they can't get into your box, then they cut it. So they cut your locks. People start to find that annoying. So a company was started that made locks with explicit back doors. Well, in this case, it's, well, basically a front door. So this is your lock. Then you can change your combination to and tinkle with. This one is keyed, and you do not have that key. TSA has this key, which means that they can open all the locks that come through customs without breaking them. And there are a couple of these keys, and every TSA agent should have their copy. And there's a lot of TSA agents. It's hard to share a secret with an X amount of people if X is great enough. And yeah, so then this happened. A reporter shows up at the airport to make a bit about, you travel this way in an airport, but how does your luggage travel? And yeah, somebody shows, well, we open it with these keys, and yeah, now it's in the open. Because these pictures are quite clear enough to make copies from. And of course, it's also not helpful that they leaked this internal document, world readable, from their internal website. Yeah, because pictures dead on with a monochrome background, so that's useful. But, well, they forgot to put the key in the picture. But that's... to put a coin in the picture, because that would make our life quite easy. Well, actually, we don't need that coin, because if you happen to buy a TSA 06, because that number is stamped on your lock, you know what this... you know what this width is, because you have the lock. So this is your keyway, the width of your keyway. You can measure that and know at what scale to print this lock. So yeah, so we have pictures, and of course it didn't take that long for the internet to figure out that we can 3D print those. And at this GitHub site you can download your own TSA Travel Sentry master keys. Fun stuff. So showing your keys to a reporter that is meant to get the word and the picture and the visuals out there, probably not the best idea. And even if the reporter does it himself, this is post 9/11, mind you. At some point in 2010, the Daily News figured out that you could buy a key for $27. That's the master key of the subway system in New York. That's 400, almost 70 subway stations. And we're talking not just the front door, but all the or the fire escapes, technical cabinets, so you can switch off the lights or switch on power, off power. So it's not just getting on the subway for free. You can create quite a bit of havoc. And it being 9/11, of course, the moral of the story was like, terrorists can create chaos when they have this key, this key, this key. So by stating that it's a wrong thing to hand this key out, they're basically handing this key out. And of course, it's not a really clear picture, but just in case we can't decode it from this, they also put pictures online where the key is on a map with a known scale. So yeah, you should probably, you can probably make a key from this, I presume. I've been giving this lecture in several forms for years now, and at one Q&A afterwards, the question was asked, what did they do after this? Did they change all the locks? Did they ignore the problem? What happened? And of course the actual answer is, I don't know, because I don't know. I don't have this key. Yeah. Sure. And but there are the 3 rules. I mean, I'm not allowed to pick a lock that I don't own. I do not own a subway station. That I have explicit permission to use. Well, that probably won't give me permission. And I don't even live there. And I'm not allowed to pick a lock that's important to someone. And I'm pretty sure this falls within that category. So I don't know. I have no way to assess what they did afterwards, unless you count on media, because a couple of years later, this article appeared. The key is now $8 all of a sudden, so stuff is getting cheaper, and it's the same key. I mean, it's the same make model, it's the same cut. And it can open all sorts of stuff. And of course, you can only run this story by printing the key page huge for everyone to see. And this was September 2015, and the article before this was April 2010. So that's 10 years later, and this is the New York Post. And yeah, this picture is dead on with a white background-ish. So you can send this to Schlusel, and they'll supply you for $5 a working key to the New York City subway system. And if you go online to this news article and tinkle with the URL a bit, then you end up with this picture. And so that's indeed white background. This is everything Schlusel needs. So the problem is security is always a trade-off. I mean, how secure do you want it? Do you want a door where no one can get in and out? That's not fun when there's a fire. So master keying or key-alike systems do have their use, but it's always a trade-off. And sometimes these trade-offs go wrong. Let's look at another example. A gas pump. There are several gas pumps from one company that were apparently key-alike. They all had the same key. And of course, if bad guys have that key, they have a key to your gas pump. Which can be a problem, because a gas pump also takes your ATM card and your PIN code. So it takes your monies. And if I normally want to skim an ATM machine, because that's basically what it is, instead of money, it spews out petrol, which is money. So normally if I want to skim an ATM, I have to make plastic things that go over your actual keypad and mold stuff that can read your card when it goes in. Some of these things are quite craftily made. They're bad guys, but they know their stuff. But if you have the key to the box where the actual reader is in, you could put all your crapware inside the box. And the end user won't see the difference between the real box and the fake box, because guess what? This is the real box. For the end user, nothing changed. And we have a little video about that.
Let's bring in NBC Bay Area's investigative reporter, Vicki Wynn. Vicki, seems unbelievable that one golden key, so to speak, unlocks so many pumps.
We were surprised too, Raj. You could call it the key to the kingdom. It is a remnant from back in the day when all gas station pumps were made with the same lock to make it easier for inspections and maintenance. Now those keys are just providing easy access to a very lucrative crime using new high-tech technology, and in the end, we are all on the hook.
Hidden behind here, a new Bluetooth-enabled skimmer that can rip off your credit or debit information in seconds. This universal gas pump key is making it even easier for thieves to install these new skimmers.
So yeah, this key. Did you really have to show this key? And we can now see that it's Y11 USA, which you can buy online. Well, you can buy the blank online, that I don't know, 40, 50 cents, something like that. But you can actually buy this key online, because there are a lot of stuff that actually operates on this key. So this key, dump it in eBay, it's yours, and you kind of own a gas station then? I don't know how that works. So, yeah, you shouldn't show this. No, you shouldn't. But like I said, key-alike systems, it's a trade-off. So it can be a good thing security-wise, and it can be a bad thing. One of the ways it can be a good thing is if you live in New York, that has quite a lot of high buildings with a lot of people in it, and there's a fire, and you need a fire person to rescue you, basically. It's quite cool that these persons can get into your buildings. For that, they figured out master keys. So there are a couple of keys that open quite a lot of things in New York. Because if those weren't key-alike, you need a metric shit ton of keys for every fire truck. You need a second truck just to hold the keys, because there's a lot of doors in New York. And of course, there's a lot of fire persons also, so we need a lot of key rings. Those normally get cut by a locksmith, and sometimes locksmiths go out of business or old age, stop working, whatever. And this particular locksmith decided to stop and then sell off his surplus stock, which resulted in this little video.
Well, the apocalypse might be coming because a New York Post reporter just scooped a legitimate story. An intrepid reporter for America's third dumbest paper has found a slightly disturbing item for sale on eBay. Former locksmith Daniel Ferraris sold the undercover reporter a New York City fireman's keyring for $150. The keys give the owner the ability to control elevators, circuit breakers, subway entrances, and traffic lights all over the city. They essentially become the key maker from The Matrix Reloaded.
Uh-huh. So yeah, and media being media, a lot of news stories are basically copies of copies of copies. not unlike keys actually. So this story got picked up by other outlets as well. And yeah, so they supplied us with clear pictures in focus of the keys, dead on, white background, hello Schlüssel. Yeah, like I said, media being media, copy making copies. So other outlets also ran these pictures, but they added some bit more information. So they also stated that which key can be used for what, who is supposed to use it, who is definitely not supposed to use it, and how terrible the havoc can be that you can create. So we have electric panels, keys, fire, elevators, traffic lights, put everything green, everything red. I mean, you've seen Hackers the movie, that's fun stuff. We have the fireman service key, and if you paid attention, that's the same key that operate all the New York City subway, the subway stations. So that's fun. It also used to open World One Trade Center. This is quite post 9/11, so that also tells you that these keys aren't going away fast. They're here to stay. And fire alarm box key that make so you can turn the alarm on, turn the alarm off. So yes, you can create definite chaos with this key ring. So showing keys, yeah, not always a good thing. This is the logo of Tech Inc. Tech Inc. is a hackerspace in Amsterdam. And we're here currently at the hackerspace in Arnhem. And hackerspaces among each other, well, they're not the same organization, but they're same-ish. Kind of like siblings. And siblings like each other, love each other to death, and also quarrel a lot. So a bit of trolling should be not out of the question, I think. So at one point, Tech Inc. got a new building. With a new building comes, of course, a new door. With a new door comes a new lock, and with new locks come new keys. And our chief trolling officer asked one of their members, like, can you send me a picture of your key? Because we have lock people in our group, and they can assess the security of said keys. It's a bullshit story, and this came up in one of our mailboxes. Now, if I take this key and draw a line around it, not unlike the kindergarten thing we did at that desk picture, we end up with a shape that looks vaguely like this. If we now feed this shape into our newest machine, which happens to be a laser cutter, then the laser will cut, because that's what it's designed for. We use a piece of Perspex plastic or whatever, something see-through. First we label it, because, well, if you lose keys, you have to know where to go to with it. Teching. Still labeling. Now we're burning. Burn, baby. We just got this machine. This was years ago. Ventilation was not yet a thing, as you can see. So just hold your breath. You'll be fine. So we burn this, and then we end up with a piece of plastic that's vaguely the shape of the key we started off with. We need focus. There we got focus. And so this is basically what we come up with. This should not fit in your lock, because the plastic is rather thick and it doesn't have the swervy thing in it. Yeah. But we have the picture of the original key, so we could kind of guesstimate what the brand was, or at least vaguely. What also exists is key blanks that are way thinner than the original key, so that fits in multiple keyways. So we chose a very thin key that kind of resembled the shape of what we were looking for. And in this picture you see here, it's not that visible, but this is the see-through thing we just created. And here is a blank we found that has vaguely the same shape. And we mounted it on a normal key cutter. So the key codes from this are now being mimicked by that. And then that was it. Because, well, it's I couldn't figure out if that key worked because it's not my door and I don't have permission and people will find it important. So there's nothing we could do. Well, except being a hackerspace and information freedom is a thing, and information wants to be free. So we put it on our world readable wiki that some people freaked out of. Yeah, but it's a crawl, so it was just meant as a troll. So the day after we showed up with new actual good quality locks and 60 copies of the keys, so they could start redistributing and upping their security, which was fun. And yeah, and even later I became a member and even got a discount because, well, they didn't need to give me a key, did they? Yeah, fun stuff. Some time ago, this is a rumor or some talk appeared that the keys to all the Belgium speed cams were the same. So all Belgium speed cams would be keyed alike. And there was actually a little program about it. So let's look at another video. It's in Dutch. But we do have some subtitles, so good luck with that.
Ons komen regelmatig wel e-mails van mensen die een en ander beweren, eigenaardige mails, maar ook opmerkelijke, zoals deze e-mail die we gekregen hebben. En dat gaat eigenlijk over iemand die beweert dat je heel eenvoudig met een sleuteltje de flitspalen open krijgt. Dus stel je voor, je wordt geflitst, je hebt een sleuteltje en leef je uit op de flitspaal of op de besturing van die paal. En dat je ook die slotjes heel gemakkelijk kan kopen. Ik onderzoek dat even. We zijn in Brussel en we beginnen natuurlijk bij de slotenmaker. Sleuteltjes en een cilinderslotje. Volgens de mailschrijver zit dit in de flitspaal en kan ik met die sleuteltjes de flitspaal openen. En hoeveel heeft dat gekost? Dat heeft €14,23 gekost. Als dit werkt voor €14,23, dat is opmerkelijk goedkoper dan een boete van een flits. Dit is hij dan, deze paal. Er zijn in Vlaanderen heel wat acties geweest om deze flitspalen uit te schakelen. Men heeft erop geschoten, men heeft ze in brand gestoken, men heeft ze zelfs afgekleefd. Maar eigenlijk is dat volgens onze mailschrijver allemaal niet nodig. Want het geheim van deze paal zit in deze kast. Deze robuuste kast is de aansturing, de sturing, de elektronica, de stroom van die flitspaal. Dit sleuteltje, dat je daar deze combinatie onschadelijk mee kan maken. En dan... Ja, het klepje gaat hier open. De sleutel past. De deur gaat open. Hier kan je hem zelfs gewoon handmatig en automatig aan en afzetten. Laten we dit maar dicht doen. Terug op slot. Volledig nieuw. Dit is wraakroepend. Dit kan niet.
I actually don't really get this story. So, all the speed cams are keyed alike. Well, maybe not the brightest idea. You can buy the key. No, you can buy the lock. So, apparently it's a standard lock that gets used for God knows what things, but also speed cams. But I don't care. I'm a lock nerd. I just want to see if I can create keys from moving pictures. One way to do that is make sure that the picture is not moving. So we lifted some stills from this video clip. Well, there's one. It's a bit blurry. This is less blurry. This might be a good candidate. But I think this picture is more straight on and you can see the key bitting a bit easier. You can also see the key head, which has a distinct shape. Same as with the quickset that we took with the long telelens. If you know your locks, you recognize this head as being from a BKS key. And if you know that, then you can figure out what the style key for a BKS is. That's this. So here is the head. And these are the positions of your cuts. And these are the possible depth of the cuts. So if you keep on looking and changing between this picture and this picture and this picture and this picture, and you can kind of guesstimate figure out that this should be the key to all Belgium speed cams. And then what? Because I can't assess if that's actually the case, because like we saw a couple of times before, there's the 3 laws. So explicit permission from the actual owner, that's not going to happen. Or owning it. Yeah, and can't. I'm not allowed to fiddle with important locks, and I'm pretty sure some people will deem these locks to be important. So we bought a speed cam, and yeah, key fits. So yeah, this is indeed the key to all Belgium speed cams. So maybe we shouldn't show it. I don't know. Well, so showing pictures can be wrong, but actual having physical possession of a key, that could be the holy grail, even if it's just for a couple of minutes or a split second, actually. One of the things you can do is, even if the swirly bit of your key is weird and non-standard, you can dump it in this machine, because that's basically a normal key duplicator, but it just works on a different angle. To explain that, it takes brass slugs with smileys on it, because why not? And what it does, instead of the key code that's normally here, so these are the key cuts, that's basically the password to your door. This should also fit. So this one duplicates the milling on that, so the tracks. So it's basically a tiny CNC machine that feels at the original key where it should mill or not. But even if you don't have fancy machine like this, because it's not cheap, I'm pretty sure you can build your own. But yeah, even if you do not have that, you can go way more low tech and attack it like you would with tin soldiers, because tin soldiers get cast. And you can cast keys. I mean, you've probably seen James Bond do it in a movie, so it must be real, right? Yeah, you can. And actually, there are kits that are sold for that explicit reason. There's some clay in there, and you see a candle, some baby powder, because clay will stick to your key, otherwise that it becomes messy. And they have some low melting metal, and that's the secret sauce, actually. Where you can do this. And actually, if you have this picture, even if you just make this impression, now you can just measure the depths, so you don't even have to cast it. But if you have this is Asa Abloy ProTech 1 or 2, I don't know, but that's quite it's a more complex key than a normal one. This is even hard to measure without the proper tooling. So now you can cast it, and that works. It's brilliant. This is a BKS, I believe it's Janus. Those have very tight tolerances. So normal clay, it has a grid size, and if you go to the hobby store and buy all their different clays they have, you'll end up with at least a couple of samples that might work. The best thing, though, is that there are some 2 component things that also get used by dentists to make impressions of your teeth. That's awesome stuff. It's quite expensive, so befriending a dentist might be a good idea. There are more 2 component things that can do this. So experiment a bit, and we'll see where you get. And this worked quite nicely. And even if you ruin your molding process, as long as you don't ruin your mold, you can just melt that metal and start over again. This worked, and that surprised us a lot. That was fun, yeah. So yeah, handing your keys out is a bad thing, and you really shouldn't. So if you lose possession of your keys, and even if it's just for a minute, you should really consider them lost. And if you find them afterwards, you should consider them a souvenir, basically. This is the ID of a hacker in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, he's quite famous. He's basically the reason we still vote on paper. He's an asshole, but he is a security, so he is a hacker, so he should understand security. So let's look at another video. Where's my video? That's not my video. No. Good. Sorry.
We zijn nu op station Weesperplein, Weesperplein in Amsterdam. En we gaan hier een beetje rondlopen om te laten zien wat wij hier in de jaren 90 allemaal hebben uitgespookt. En wij liepen hier in de jaren 90, begin jaren 90 liepen we hier rond en we hadden door allerlei toeval ontstaan een sleutel in handen waarmee we het hele metrosysteem in konden. De sleutel paste letterlijk overal op. En dan wil het geval dat er onder dit station allerlei interessante dingen liggen. Schuilbunkers, vreselijk spannend, zeker in die tijd vonden we het geweldig. We staan dus in de lucht en dan ga ik dus niet op het knopje drukken. Dan kan ik draaien de magische sleutel om. Dan gaat de deur nauwkeurig dicht en dan gaan we niet naar het perron. Waar we gewend zijn dat de lift heen gaat. We gaan gewoon door naar beneden. Tot we aankomen in een veel diepere ruimte. Oh kijk eens, daar is het licht. Geweldig. Fantastisch.
And then you have hackers in your super secret bomb shelter. So when this was not virtual, my normal question would be, what's wrong with this picture? And I'll probably get answers like, it's out of focus. Yeah, well, we've been looking at out of focus pictures for quite a while now. So that's not the answer. The actual answer is, this is not the key. It's a key, but this is not the key that operates any elevator. This is a cabinet key. But you didn't notice, did you? Because this is called a prop. It's a key, it's a stand-in, it's a stunt key. But that took nothing away from the story. I mean, the tension was still there. The story is still exactly the same. Reporter is happy. The customers are none the wiser. And we didn't leak information. So, using a prop, there's no shame against that. Because for some keys, you don't mind that people have access to it. I mean, leakage is encouraged actually, and for other locks, it's a bad thing that keys are out there, presumably. And for others, it's even illegal to have or obtain or do whatever. And even if you make your own, that's So making this, well, the only thing we need is pictures. So you shouldn't be showing pictures of your keys, or you shouldn't be showing keys at all. But if you still want to use your keys, but don't want people to look at them, well, there are several options. I mean, you could keep them in your pocket, or shield it like you would with a PIN code if you're using your ATM machine. Yeah, that'll work. There are also commercial options. This is Keyport. It's labeled DEFCON 22 because, well, that's why they sold them. It has nothing to do with DEFCON, except I like security products that fail that have DEFCON on them. What this basically is a box that you can slide your keys in and out of. And of course, the shape is smaller than a normal key. So you can buy blank keys and other add-ins like USB thingies and lights and whatever. But on the right, the three on the right here, those are keys with a peculiar head that fits in this contraption. But of course, if you want to order this and use for your own household keys, you have to figure out which blanks to order that fit in this. So they want you, so if you order this, you have to also order the blanks. And in order to figure out which blanks they need to supply to you, they ask you to make a picture of your key and send it to them. So they figure out what blanks to ship you. And then you take those to a locksmith. He makes the cuts for you. So you're selling a security product to security people that go to DEFCON, so they're already paranoid, presumably. And you're asking them to send pictures of their keys. Well, granted, in the finer print, it does state that you really should cover the tips of the cuts so they can't figure out the code. But that shouldn't be fine print. That shouldn't be an add-on. It's a security product. How can security be an add-on? That's weirdness. But yeah, well, weirdness exists for a reason. I don't know how this works. So in the digital world, we already figured out, well, at least we figured out that having post-its with passwords shouldn't be sticked to the console, because this is a bad thing. Because now we basically don't have a password anymore, because it's open. And that also goes for this Airbnb entry for Berlin. I mean, that key is a standard ABUS C83 by the looks of it. And yeah, that's definitely decodable by this picture alone. So yeah, I mean, I guess the owner of this Airbnb facility wants his rooms filled, but I guess he also wants to get paid. Same as the realtor who just sold a house and put this on Twitter. And of course, seeing what houses he just sold. I would change my keys if I bought a new apartment, most definitely. So this was Twitter. And it's clearly an invite to people come to my housewarming, I presume, or something like that. And Twitter does cool stuff. This website is Please Break In, and what it does, it has a crawler that goes to Twitter and tries to figure out if people post pictures of keys and also say something like new house or new building or new job or whatever. And, well, there's not much information leakage here, except for the keys, of course. And, of course, it's click through. So if you click it, you come at the original Twitter posting. And like this, I mean, new home in Turlock. And quite a clear picture of that key. And a picture of that home. I don't know how big Turlock is, but I'm pretty sure someone can write a Google Street View plugin to figure out where this house exactly is. And because it's a new house, it's probably also filled to the brim with new cool stuff like televisions and I don't know. So yeah, the world, the eyes of the world are on Twitter, so you shouldn't show your keys there. Well, actually, eyes of the world are at several places. This is a bit about Google Glass. Well, that didn't catch on because glass holes were assholes. So yeah. But a Google Glass is a camera with other stuff as well. But I mean, we all have tracking devices on us with also have phone capabilities and have very ample cameras in them. Yeah, there's sensors everywhere. And if you live in some backward country like London, there are a gazillion cameras everywhere. But not just London. I mean, cameras galore everywhere. So if you use a key, you might want to shield that a bit with your hand or a keyboard without sending stuff like that. Because, yeah, having pictures of keys out can be a bad thing. Another example, I mean, Daniel Luther Heiss, he's a convicted killer. He killed people, he went to jail from it, and he escaped from jail, actually, a couple of times. But one of his escapes was possible because he had a fellow inmate, and that fellow inmate created the master key for the whole facility. Well, how did he get the information to make such a key? Well, the design of the master key was printed on front of the prisoner's information handbook. And a copy of said book was given to all inmates upon arrival to that facility. Yeah, not good. Well, this happened 25 years ago, something like that. And it happened in Australia, close to Darwin, which is quite a fitting name. I just find it funny. So, yeah, ancient history, especially if you count internet years. But, I mean, this story... a couple of weeks ago, a German prison had to change 600 locks because an intern shared a selfie with him behind bars and holding a key, sent that to a couple of friends. Well, not just the friends. Picture went viral. It came out, and that key was the master key of that whole facility. So, yeah, key information being out there is not always a good thing. But now you can always say, stupid intern, and it's just 600 lux, and we know this, we can change it, and switch out the lux, and probably also switch out the intern. But yeah, stupid intern, yeah, sure. But I mean, if you look at this story, this is a Dutch, ANP is the biggest Dutch news agency we have. The story is about we have prisons in the Netherlands, but we have a huge shortage of criminals apparently. And in Norway, it's the other way around. They have a surplus of criminals, so they export it and we put it in our Dutch prisons. It's a weird story. So, of course, reporters show up and take pictures like this. And, well, this is a bit vague, but as it's a news agency, you can buy the rights to these pictures and then they become way more high-res. Yeah, this Assa Abloy has an interesting bidding. I'm pretty sure that goes to places. And the side bidding of this lock, that might be interesting. This is a Lips Octro. I can't see the whole bidding of it, but there's quite a lot to decode there. And I also noticed that they use regular handcuff keys. Yeah, and if you dig a bit further in this same database, you can also figure out that they use different keys as well. And that they have no clue how to properly install cylinder locks. Yeah. Information security. Sometimes it's very easy, really, and indeed sometimes it's really hard. But the problem is it's always quite easy to fuck it up. But we kind of knew that, didn't we? That's the end of this story. I nicked data to get this talk up and running from several sources. They're listed here, and I definitely want to thank. I definitely want to thank Bix, who also did the audio. And, thank you, LayerOne. If I haven't seen the schedule for LayerOne yet, so I don't know at what time this will air. If it's any way, shape, or form compatible with my time zone, we now move to a Q&A session. Thank you very much for your attention.